Okay, be honest. How many of you have ran dry fire drills this week? This month? At all since the coronavirus came around? It seems like the topic of dry fire is not only controversial, but it is one that's come up quite a bit lately. Now, you clicked on this video, so in a way you essentially asked me for my opinion. So here we go. So as we all know, the internet is a wide open space full of information and opinions. And a lot of people have negative opinions about dry fire practice. As much as I dig to get some understanding of what exactly it is that people are talking about when they say that dry fire practice is a negative, I can't really come up with very much solid information. The best I can get out of people is that dry fire creates premature wear on your firearm. Okay, if you bought a high point, okay, point taken. If you've purchased any reasonable quality modern firearm, that argument is 100% invalid. Your gun was designed to do a specific job, and you can go through and do a hell of a lot of dry fire practice before even having to consider replacing any parts. But Mike, dry fire doesn't represent real shooting because there's no recoil, so it's a big waste of time. Anyone that says that is missing the actual point of dry fire practice. And more than likely, when they need their weapon, they're going to fumble for it and shoot themselves in the dick. Sorry, not sorry. See, dry fire is all about the steps between seeing and recognizing a situation that justifies using lethal force, all the way up until the point of taking your first shot. Live fire training is for everything after that point. And yes, doing those same drills, live fire, are a great idea for the range. Not so much for an afternoon in your living room. Dry fire is about putting in those repetitions so that you feel comfortable and confident with reaching for your gun, getting a good grip, getting it out there on target, and taking your first shot, which ultimately could be the most important shot that you ever take in your entire life. Frequently and consistently dry firing at home gives you experience and confidence. That experience and confidence is worth way more than any theoretical parts that could be wore out or damaged in the process. And it's definitely worth more than being a liability in a situation where you could have potentially saved someone's life. All right, so it is a warm but cloudy afternoon here in Washington. That means that the sun could come out, it could rain, it could hail. Hell, I'm not even going to rule out the possibility that it could turn to snow. That's just how it goes here. The weather is extremely unpredictable. I've got a few errands to run today, and I'm really wanting to get used to carrying the weight of my STI because I've been carrying the M&P for so long. So eventually I just have to do it, so I thought today would be the time. So let's run through how I prep for the day. Like I said, weather's questionable, but I'm going to wear shorts anyways. I am wearing my blue Alpha Gear belt. Like I said, I'm going to carry the STI. I'm going to throw this jacket on right here. It's nice and thin. So if it warms up too much, I'll be fine. If it rains, I'll be fine. It's going to cover everything. I shouldn't have any issues with concealability. I am still waiting on the holster for my STI, but part of the reason why I got the Filster floodlight is because it indexes to my weapon mounted light instead of the gun. So in an instance like this, where I don't have a holster specifically made for this, I throw the Streamlight on there, and not only do I have my weapon light, but also got a holster. So for right now, this is going to be the holster for my STI until the Tier 1 shows up soon. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so first, excuse the mess in the office. We're getting ready to, actually we're in the process of ripping the carpet out of the living room to put hardwood in, and so all the little odds and ends from the living room are cluttering up my office right now. So the combination of Filster's floodlight and the STI are a little on the bulky side. I've really got to watch my movement when I'm out and about. So the solution, because of the weather, is a jacket. And this one, like I said, it's light, it's thin enough. It'll go ahead, it'll conceal pretty well. I don't have to worry about any printing. It's comfortable. If it rains, I can stay dry, I can stay warm, whatever. It's not totally obvious that I'm carrying my weapon on me. So because I'm wearing a jacket, before I can access my firearm, I've got to get the jacket out of the way. One of the things that I've learned over the years is the pocket on the side that your firearm's in. If you keep about $3 in quarters in there and your car keys, it gives you enough weight that when you swing it out of the way, it actually gets to moving and it doesn't just, tangle up and get in the way. So this is what I plan on wearing leaving the house. And like I said, honestly, I really haven't carried the STI concealed. I haven't wore these shorts with this jacket carrying the STI. It's, a complete unknown. So before I leave the house, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get dressed like I'm leaving, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll through a couple of dry fire drills just to make sure that in the event I leave the house and I actually need my firearm, the clothes that I'm wearing while outside in public, I'm comfortable and confident in actually accessing that weapon. The most important thing to remember when doing dry fire drills is safety. So I don't have any mags in this room. I don't have any ammo, nothing in the office right now. The gun itself doesn't have a magazine in it. It's empty. It's clear. Hammer's back. Safety's on. We're ready to go. In the holster. On the opposite wall, right across from me at a reasonable distance, I have a sticky note just like this. Well, not just like this, it's purple, but it too has a 1-inch round circle. That is my aiming point for these dry fire drills. Safety is always the #1 concern when you're dry firing. So one last time before we actually do this, I've got my red dot on, okay? Got nothing in the chamber, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. Safety's on. It is back in the holster and we're ready. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and clear the cover garments. Jacket goes to the side, shirt comes up, hand of the weapon. Now notice when I pulled it out, that trigger finger is straight forward. When I bring it up to my support hand, as I'm pushing out, that's when I'm gonna go ahead and disengage the safety, go to the trigger, take my shot. Now that I've taken my shot, again, I'm gonna go ahead, no magazine, no ammo, it's reset, safety is back on. Now, I'm not used to having to use a thumb safety because I have been using my M&P for quite some time. So that's kind of an awkward step for me at this point. It's something that I definitely have to practice and train for, is using an actual safety instead of a trigger safety. But practice makes perfect, right? So before I go ahead and put it back in the holster, got nothing in there, safety's on. Back in there. At no time in between here and, I don't know, half to 3/4 of the way to the target should your finger ever touch the trigger. Because in a real world situation, your nerves are going to be jumpy and you may just accidentally pull that trigger when you don't want to. So let's try it again, okay? Cover garments up, hand of the gun, make friends with the support hand, finger is off the trigger. Safety's going off as I go out, and trigger pull. All right, it's all pretty easy. We're clear, safety on, back in the holster, and we're good to go. Again, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clear my garments, grab my gun, bring it out, take the safety off, pull the trigger. All right, I'm gonna try this a couple more times, see if I can get just a little more comfortable with it before I leave the house. See, totally forgot the safety that time. That's the thing, if you're going from a weapon that has just the trigger safety to a thumb activated safety, if you don't practice, that could make the difference between life or death. So practice, practice, practice. Let's try that again. I'll tell you, that Filster floodlight's a little awkward going back into the holster. Drawing from it isn't bad, but going back in, it is just a little bit awkward. I could probably do some adjustments with the clips to make it a little bit better, which I may just do before I leave the house, but we'll see how it goes. You know, I think I can live with that. It's not too bad. A little sloppy, could be sped up, but for right now it works. I'm going to keep practicing it. Of course, the more I practice, the better that I'm going to get with it. It's going to get faster, it's going to get smoother. That's kind of the whole point of dry firing, is getting better at it at no cost to you. If you're one of the millions of new gun owners out there, if you don't have a ton of experience carrying a firearm, these drills are an absolute must. It's the safest way for you to get used to actually grabbing for that gun in an emergency. These practice drills come at no cost to you. You should do them regularly. You should do them in different types of clothing. Every day when you put on a new outfit and grab your gun, you should do a couple rounds before you leave the house, just to make sure that you know where to grab. I cannot stress enough that getting your concealed carry permit in the mail, getting a gun and a holster, they do not prepare you for carrying a gun in real life. Dry fire drills are great, but they are not a substitute for taking actual classes by an accredited professional. So make that a priority. I know they're expensive. There's a million things you'd rather spend your money on, but they could really make the difference between a good situation and a bad situation. If all you do is grab a gun and a holster and head out into the real world, expect a negligent discharge. Expect that when you are under pressure and you reach for that firearm, your trigger finger is probably going to ride the trigger, and you're probably going to shoot yourself, or potentially somebody that you're trying to protect, and somebody's going to go to the hospital or worse. Owning a gun, it's a big responsibility, and carrying a gun is an even bigger responsibility. Do the world a favor and take it seriously. Put the time in practicing. Get yourself some training. Whatever you do, don't rush yourself. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you need to carry a gun, especially if you haven't put in the time practicing and you're not feeling comfortable and confident with your skill set. All right, I talked enough about safety for today. That's going to be it for this week. I'll be back next weekend with some more content for you, and we'll see you then.